Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League for North America. Our final matchup of the evening is getting started now. Once again, it's going to be NRG versus compLexity. Almost saw the miracle comeback from compLexity after NRG just destroyed things in the first half there on Cash. But now we're going to go over to Dust 2, and we're getting started immediately. NRG on the CT side, compLexity on the T side. My name is Blue. Joining me here this evening is a new addition to the SCA casting team. It's Bach. So Bach, take us away.
You know, that was a really tough game for NRG. I kind of wonder if that's going to play into this match. And it looks like we already have a technical problem. Very similar to the last time, the coach not in the coach's position. And we saw what happened last time where we had about 10 minutes of dead air to fill while we waited for the coach to join. Thankfully, not going to be the case this time around, as they are able to get their coach into the CT coaching position. So Pistol Round should be going live in a second. But there's a lot to be said about that comeback that almost occurred for compLexity. Even though they lost, I still feel like momentum is in their favor. NRG is probably feeling a little bit frustrated. They were up 14-1. That probably should have been closed out so much sooner. It took them 14 rounds to end it. So if I'm NRG right now, I'm feeling a little bit shaky moving into a map like Dust 2 that plays very similar to the map we just played.
So the big thing for compLexity is going to be how this T side plays out, of course. So they're going to have to start off on it this time. Or apologies, it's going to be how NRG has to play on the T side. So thankfully, let me correct myself. Thankfully, they do not have to start off on their T side where things got very, very weak, and they're going to get to start off on CT side. So that's some good prospects for them. But for compLexity, they pretty much had the same set of issues here, but their T side is where the weak points were. But they're going to go for a quick maneuvering push into the B-bomb site. Justin shutting down one of these players, but Shinobi trading it out quickly enough. Justin maybe trying to test the waters a little bit, but he does see two players pushing towards him, so he's going to transfer himself to the main doorway. Fraud still holding inside of the tunnels, though. He picks up another frag on Legia, so making it a bit tough for NRG to try and get themselves back into this B-bomb site.
Good positioning right now from the T side with the one man in B tunnels being the big one. That's going to be Fraud, and Fraud goes down. That forces Sanks to come around the front side of Xbox. They take the man down from window, and because of that, Sanks retreats into that position safely. But now it's going to be very difficult here for the last man standing, Gob B. He's got the pistol back behind Xbox. He's popping shots towards the player door and double stack. Roka and Shinobi not really giving him anything to work with. Roka, KZ skills being put to the test, tries to come in with the knife. Gob B having none of it, but it doesn't matter. compLexity is able to pick up the round.
Yeah, unfortunately for Gob B, I don't really think there was a kit anywhere near him either, as far as I could see from going in a third person real quick. So as soon as the timer got down low enough, there was no chance of it, and Roka knew it, so just wanted to go kooky there, see if he can find himself a knife kill. Wasn't meant to be, though. But still, the guys on compLexity do pick up the round on T side, which is what's important. This is where they really struggled to pick up the rounds before, and now that they're going to potentially be able to get a couple for free, assuming they don't screw it up on this second round, that's a great start for them. However, the guys on NRG are going to get very aggressive with the fast cat maneuver, also pushing themselves in, and Silent picking up the first two kills, and a third on his Sanks, holding off like an absolute boss right now. Now Def is scared out of his pants to try and find that frag. Finally succeeds in doing it as he takes down Silent, and Gob B coming out on the rotate. This may be all for naught here. As we see Gob B shutting it down, and that amazing play from Silent, again starting us off strong on the CT side. Causes that upset that I was just talking about the compLexity had to avoid, and now their own economy is going to be thrown to the wolves.
Kind of curious decision there from compLexity. Go with the rush B after picking up the pistol round. They knew that there was a chance they could be walking into the force up, the pistol armor buy, and not necessarily common that a team's going to go for a stack B, but you're walking into a trap. I mean, you have an SMG like a MAC-10, and when you really compare that to a 5.7 or even a P250 at close range, the pistols can often win that duel. That's exactly what happens there. I mean, with Silent with the Deagle, who really got things going. But either way, NRG claw back into the game after losing the pistol round, and it's an absolute slaughter fest here in round number 3, as Roka is the only one who's picked up a frag, and it's going to be with the Deagle of all guns. But now he's just floating between the back of Cat and stairs, trying to spot one more. Justin in a really good position to take Roka down.
He didn't even see him there, so Justin still got the complete element of surprise. Found Roka, knocking off half his HP, and now going to try to finish him off with the nade. Gets out of the way of it, but Peter ultimately is just going to shut him down with a scout shot as soon as he pushes himself out towards Cat. NRG chain 2 together, but compLexity not really trying to respond to it after we did see NRG steal away the second round. We are going to have them being able to go directly into another buy here, investing up to the rifles. They're not going to have a whole lot of utility for this, which could be a bit unfortunate, but Fraud is going to be the player that voluntarily downgrades himself to a Tech 9 and sort of makes up for the lack of the utility that they're not going to have on the players with rifles.
I mean, if you're going to do a fast play, this is the time to do it, and that's exactly what they do. They just barrel out of long, flashes and smokes to rain over. I kind of feel like they might actually fall off of this. This is like that early aggression long, and then you kind of float the CT side players from mid and B over towards the A site, and then you backpedal with the bomb. But it does look like they are more dedicated to the A site, especially now that they've gotten control of pit. Fraud coming up from Catwalk. Had he had a gun better than a Tech 9, his position could be absolutely lethal for compLexity. But he's going to be a little bit weaker because that pistol just not quite as good at long range as, say, an AK or even a Galil. A good flash, though, to toss over the wall. As he tries to throw it, he's actually going to get blinded himself, and now Legia is going on the push. Legia getting in dangerous range here for the Tech 9 of Fraud, so it's actually going to work out better than it maybe should have. And now they've got one in the site, Gabi behind the big box, and Roka's just going to put a few bullets through the corner of it, and the T side's going to get control of the A site.
Silent catching the kill under Fraud before the nade rolls into his face there. Now it's down to a 2 versus 2. Already the CTs are in great position, so compLexity's not going to have any time at all to get into post plants. They're Silent with another pickup, and he's still down below as well. And Justin just going to line up that final headshot there onto Sanks, finishes him off. And of course, with this happening so early, there's plenty of time left for the defuse from the side of NRG, so they will be picking up this round. A little bit shaky there from him, as it almost looked like compLexity would be getting control of things after they had taken down, I think it was Peter that was sitting up on the site there, but after they had gotten up there, NRG came in quickly with the retake and were able to recover from it quite nicely. So they'll sit at 3-1, and we will have to go into a pause here, as it looks like Legia has disconnected from the side of NRG.
I know it's only round 4, but if I'm on compLexity, these rounds are a little bit worrying. These are playing out exactly how the first half of the last map played out, where they would get bomb site control, they'd get the bomb down, and they just could not hold for the retake. And usually it was the CT side who was a little bit lower on manpower. Didn't matter. I think it was like round 10, compLexity got the bomb down like 8 times, but they only had one round at that point. And, I mean, that's the story that played out throughout the majority of the first half on Cash. And being that Dust 2 plays very similarly, they could easily fall into another very one-sided score for NRG. Now, we saw what happened. NRG didn't have a T side either, so it ended up almost working for compLexity. But even still, compLexity is doing the same things they did in map 1. You know, they're getting these bomb plants, they're putting themselves in close position, they know that the money on NRG is on the breaking point, so they continue to force, but they're kind of playing into that similar trap that basically doomed them in map 1.
It was Gabi that was on the platform that last round, by the way. But anyway, we're getting into the action here now. As compLexity starts up a pretty quick push on the B. Shinobi tries to be sneaky at the last minute push up on a Catwalk, but he's a little bit early. If he had done that a couple seconds later, he might have been able to sneak behind the CTs. Nonetheless, though, compLexity successfully get themselves into the site, and they get the bomb down, but it's at a heavy cost of their health pools. Def down at 17 HP, Roka at 35, and Fraud not much better off at 68. So the players from NRG should have a very easy time with the retake, but I don't think they fully realize just how low they've gotten these guys. So they're going to take their time with it. However, Fraud doesn't even realize that Gabi is sitting in the tunnel despite looking right at him there. Might have not spotted if he's playing on the lower resolution. So Def moving in, holds off at least one kill, but he's traded by Peter. And Legia is going to jump through the smoke. The drop kill onto Roka is going to finish him off. And NRG will continue their streak here up to 4 rounds now in their favor. And compLexity still only sitting with that pistol round victory.
And again, it's post-plant positioning for compLexity that just doesn't work out. A solid retake for NRG. But compLexity just keeps throwing money. They're like just dropping buckets of cash into the rounds. They're just hoping to pick something up and then eventually break the money from NRG and put themselves in a position where they could get a few rounds in a row, start building up their own money. But it's actually backfiring. These rounds, they just don't have the equipment to prevent the retake. That's really what it's coming down to, is they're getting the bomb site, but they exhaust all their utility, and then when it comes to the retake, they just don't have anything to hold them off. A great start here for NRG, again, as Legia is going to take out Roka, going for that fast peek on long. Shinobi not able to follow up due to the molly, and it's going to stop compLexity dead in their tracks early on.
compLexity still trying to get themselves third, and Def is literally just eating the flames right now, loses half his HP from it, but nothing to show. Does not connect the shot onto anybody from NRG. So unfortunately, he's going to take a lot of the damage for naught. Now, Gabi actually looks like he might be moving inside of the long doors to get aggressive with this. Not going to be the case, but it does get a flash on a Shinobi, so if he had pushed through, more than likely would have found a kill. compLexity, there was other plans besides pushing themselves out the long doors. They've solidified themselves up over here towards mid, and might be trying to go for a B hit now, as 2 more of their players from middle try to move themselves towards the upper tunnels and get ready for a push in there. NRG, though, is still fairly evenly split up at the moment, and should be able to hold this off, assuming Silent doesn't immediately drop when this push comes out from the tunnels.
I like Shinobi's position here. Try and keep them honest on long, as the rest of his team is stacked up in the B site. He's going to go for the smoke over to prevent the peek from the corner. Peter's going to go for the peek over top of the edge. but Shinobi's able to get out of long. He's making a lot of noise, so he's gluing GobB on long. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is barreling in towards the B site. It puts a lot of pressure on Justin here. Great flash in, but Justin catches it. And that's one of those mistakes that you sometimes have with a team that hasn't quite played together for very long. In window, Legia hoping to spot the bomb, planting behind double stack, but it's going to be planted default, so compLexity again falls into the post-plant position with no utility left now. The bomb is ticking away, and they've already exhausted all of their grenades.
And they're still slugging on actually getting themselves back into the site here now. And also there's a flank opening up with Shinobi creeping himself around through the tunnels. GobB's trying to do the same thing. He's going to succeed at it, but still, the T's are absolutely dominating the game plan here. Shinobi's flank has worked, hasn't been traded off, and GobB's the last one left alive inside of those tunnels now. So he's just going to be sitting back, trying to deny any exits through the tunnels, hoping he can catch something, as those players may be moving out to try and drop his gun, but it's not the case. The T's are still working with a very low amount of money, so they cannot really afford to sacrifice any guns at this point.
I think the only thing that really worked in compLexity's favor there was that even though they were out of all that utility, so was NRG, because they took so long and they had that fake towards A. They caused the A players who would be coming in on the retake to exhaust a lot of their flashes, smokes. They double mollied long early after Roka had already gone down, and they weren't even going for a repeak. So that kind of played towards compLexity a little bit. NRG is going to be able to get in another buy here. It was 4 rounds in a row for them. That's now the 4th plant successfully here for compLexity, and they've got plenty of money left, so they might force up after this. I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do, because they know that NRG is really broke, so even if they lose this round, we could see yet another force buy coming in from compLexity, and it really wouldn't surprise me.
But compLexity splitting their players up once more, taking their time with the push, and GobB sitting at the edge of the long doors once more. Very, very aggressive with his positioning, but now going to fall back since the timer is starting to get a little bit lower. We might start to see some compLexity players poke through to try and get some intel. And that's exactly what's going to be happening right about now. So it's Fraud, along with Shinobi, just trying to molly it out, hoping they can get lucky and catching someone to the left of the doorway. But all they're going to do is give away the positioning of 2 of their players. NRG won't really be able to react to that, but it's enough to draw some attention over here. So if they decide to go for a cat push, this actually might work out great for them, because look, they have no presence on the A site right now. The 2 players they have defending this site are much more focused on the long doors than they are on cat, because there's been 0 pushes coming in this direction. But Silent going to pick up a first kill himself here, as he takes down Sanks. It's at a heavy cost to his own HP. He's down at 7 now. And Justin was also lit previously, so Roku's going to be able to finish him off. And now it's going to sit even at a 4-on-4. compLexity, though, still yet to decide where they want to take this play with 30 seconds left now.
GobB just got CSGO'd there. He went to bounce a flash off the wall in towards long doors, hit some random texture, and it went straight down. So it actually allowed Fraud to creep out of double doors, but Fraud wasn't actually able to spot GobB. They were playing a 2-man stack towards long with 1 in pit and 1 on the cross. It's going to be pretty hard for him to get anything. The smoke on CT is not very good, but neither is the pop flash from Legia. They could see it from a mile away because they spotted Legia just through the edge. Great shot from Peter, though, and that's going to glue Fraud in mid. Almost caught from behind by GobB. I think GobB did spot him hiding behind the Xbox. But I think at this point, the CTs have decided they can't retake this. They can't afford to lose these guns.
Ooh,
especially with that shot from Fraud. Where did that come from?
Fraud with a great reversal on the GobB. Just shuts him down after we did see a good shot connecting. But unfortunately, GobB is going to get the lock on the location, and GobB doesn't actually relocate himself. He doesn't even shift an inch. So it's an easy recovery for Fraud to grab, and it takes down GobB, now leaving only Peter alive. And Peter himself might actually have some combat in a moment. No, it doesn't look like it. Fraud's running away now with the op. So I believe Peter should be able to make it out of this round with the op. However, that's probably going to be the only thing that the guys on NRG will be carrying over into that next round. And with the majority of their players being way under the threshold and needed to go for a buy-up, I don't think a force buying is going to be on the menu here. And I'm wrong.
Yeah.
At least on GobB's case. But this actually makes sense if he doesn't buy any more utility, because he's still going to place himself at 2400, so it's not the worst buy in the world.
Yeah, and if they do lose this, he'll have, what, 20? You said 2400, right? He'll get 2400 from the round. So, yeah, he'll still be, I mean, 4800 bucks is still enough to buy. It's not the greatest buy that would come in, but it would be a good enough buy. You can go with body armor because you know you're going to be faced off against AKs, so you can sacrifice that little bit of extra cash. A good start here is GobB uses the M4 perfectly, and he's going to find 3 big kills for NRG, and he puts them in the driver's seat for the round as compLexity is left scrambling, trying to figure out how this just happened. Sanks and Roka, the only ones left standing here, and Sanks is going to get caught through the smoke. Peter just timed that perfectly. And Roka, he's all alone, and he's just wondering, where's my team? Guys, hello? What happened? Where are you? He is going to get 1 frag towards long, but, I mean, is there a situation where Roka clutches this one out? It's possible.
Yes, yes there
Roka
absolutely is. Well, remember what we saw. Well, he only was put in a situation where he had to clutch 2 times in the last half of Cash, and he did it. This time, though, he's going to be loud as hell hopping his way over to the site. So that's called by Peter. Good communication coming out from the side of NRG, and it will be stopped pretty quickly by the Opera there. NRG finds a 5th round pickup. They're still trading much better, though, complexity this is, than they were back on the last map. So already this is looking like a closer map, and it's NRG now that will have to respond to this in the second half. So just keep that in mind as this game continues onward here, especially if it remains this close for the entire half.
I mean, if NRG continues to play the T side like they did in all the maps we've watched tonight, as long as complexity can get like 5 or 6 rounds, they'll be pretty happy, because NRG's T side has been ridiculously clunky. Complexity isn't really looking so smooth either, but it's been a little bit better on this map than it was on Cash. A great start as Shinobi catches Gabi thinking that he's blinded everyone out long, and now the T side has full control of long, and the CTs are just going to surrender it. Peter still holding on Cat. He's got to be careful. They are barreling around long. The only support is Legia. Now the smoke comes out, so he's going to push up on Cat with the flash. Legia spamming through the smoke, manages to find one, but the fire returns in his direction. Doesn't do that much damage. It's actually Peter to get a 1-for-1 from Catwalk, and it forces us to a 3v3.
Legia, though, sneaking around, trying to find a way through this smoke. He's a little bit slow with it, though, so he's kind of wasted his chance, and now he's just going to hang out here near Elevator as he waits for his teammates to get in a position to attempt their retake up towards Cat. They're moving in now. Players on the T side are still hanging out in Goose, along with on the ramp. There's Fraud picking up a first kill, but he's traded out by Justin. Now Shinobi peeks, and Justin and Silent are just lined up. An easy 2 kills for him to grab and to clutch out the round for complexity, and they respond right back again to 5-4 now.
It's a very interesting economic situation again here, where like the teams just continue to kind of like put more into rounds than they maybe should, and it's rounds where they should be punished for it, and it doesn't happen. So complexity bought as much as they could in that round. And in a few rounds prior, it was Gabi who bought an M4 when the rest of his team was saving, and he gets a 3K to win the round. I mean, these kind of situations continue to just show themselves here. Oh, Silent. He's so close in the smoke. Tries to put a bullet in the butt of Def, who just leaps out and gives him the Goomba Stomp. And now it's just Peter and Gabi trying to come in on the retake, but they have actually taken a few players down here from complexity. Peter has the scout, so, you know, one shot could actually take things to a 2v2.
Get wrecked, Peter. Trying to jump scout it, and Fraud just denies that. So now Gabi moving in. I think he's looking for an AK or something to pick up, but there's nothing around here, because they actually might have just naded it out. I'm trying to see. Is there anything here? Doesn't look like it. I don't think there's really anything in the tunnel anyway. So, and if it was, it glitched off the map. So Gabi not going to be able to find too much in this round, so may as well just post up for exits. Actually, looking at the money, he might want to try and save that, because they might have to save again, although they're going to have 3 players in position to buy, so maybe not. But still, carrying this over to the next round would not be the worst thing in the world, so he might be playing this a little bit more passively.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get 1900, so even if he dies here, I imagine he would pistol armor, especially with the rest of his team. It's going to be probably a 3-2 split buy. They might have 1 player on pistol armor, but for the most part, they'll be okay.
So we'll see the investment coming in. I believe there might have been a drop for Silent. I'm trying to see how exactly that works out, but nope, not the case. He's just going to invest into a UMP, and he'll be working that on this round, but still a very really confident buy from NRG. A lot better than I was expecting, and Complexity are now working with a potential lead take here too if they can close out this one, because players like Pete and whatnot aren't able to afford the utility buy, so he's going to be a little bit worse off, especially with this aggressive position he's playing. If there was any pressure at all from Complexity towards long doors, he'd be in a very cautious position, but it's a quick take from Complexity. Moving up Cat now. And they're actually basically going to get A for free, as NRG can't really do anything about this immediately.
It was a bit of a gamble as they double stacked long and played no one on Catwalk. They pushed their Cat player, I guess, was playing towards CT spawn that round. They're basically banking for either a mid or a long play. If Complexity had fallen into the fact that they thought that was an eco round, it could have really worked for NRG, but it just doesn't happen that way. They make their way up Catwalk with ease, and now they've got post-plant again, the bomb going down. A 1-for-1, but now another one picked up by Shinobi. He's still looking to spot some bodies coming up from slope. Not able to take down those players, but it is Fraud and Sanks to strike. And I think Justin somehow got up through that smoke to the left of Fraud or to the right of Fraud, but it doesn't matter. Complexity have taken the round, and now we should finally see an eco round from one of these teams, as NRG is just below the mark for a force buy.
Not going to be able to invest anything this time. And we're only going to see 1 single purchase on the entire team. It's Justin going up for a 5-7 buy. Gonna face check things in middle. Doesn't spot it there, but compLexity took the long path, so he wasn't really bound to see anything. A fast cat maneuver. Don't surprise these guys, but they're way more aggressive about it now. They know they have the advantage, and they're pushing in. Gob or Peter just gets ripped to shreds. Gobby follows suit, however. He's sitting up on top. Legia is the only player that's able to pick up a frag. He did buy a P250, by the way, and now falling back. He's sitting on the dumpster. Nice dink to bring Def down to 6 HP, but ultimately he's traded out, and compLexity's remaining players finish the job.
And it was actually kind of good for them the way that worked out. I mean, Fraud was at 10k when he died there. And you know what? Something I kind of want to take away from this, you know, Fraud, a longtime CS veteran, he's going to feel really comfortable on Dust 2, maybe more so though than he would on Cash. Cash was a little bit bigger in Source than it was in 1.6. And honestly, I didn't really play 1.6 too much competitively. It was just kind of like a hobby back then when I was playing. So I don't really remember all the map pool, but Fraud being a long-standing player, he's going to know this map inside and out. And he's feeling more comfortable here. Again, not a dynamite performance, not top fragging, not putting on a clinic or anything like that, but he's doing his job. I mean, that one round, he gets that huge shot on the player in T-Spawn, Gobby, who spotted him. You can tell that he's feeling more at home here than he did in the last map.
compLexity still taking their time, but Roka looking to move out here through the mid doors. Keep in mind, NRG really have not been putting a whole lot of pressure on the mid doors area for this entire map so far. Legia going to start to rotate in through CT. Can hear the re-smoke coming back in, and is going to try to throw the molly out, but with how passively compLexity have been playing, that's probably not going to get in their way too much, and Legia would not be wise to peek out from here right now. Roka has single-handedly just found the entry here to get into the B bomb site. Unfortunately, he's still alone, and Silent's going to be aggressive. One any kill on his 6. Def's there to trade that out, finishes him off with a P250. Now they're going to walk into this site to try and get a plant, but Legia just walks right in and has a perfect flash to take down Def. Shinobi's able to trade that out, and it'll be a 2v2, but with Shinobi heavily lit down at 16 HP.
Fraud's going to find the op in tunnels. He's got to support his teammates so Shinobi can get the bomb down. Peter's going to go for the jump peek over top of the door smoke. This didn't work out so well for him when he had the scout. This time around, he's got the op, and the shot would be pretty hard to hit, but the bomb is going to go down towards the back of site. Shinobi's trapped. He really can't make it out of this position alive. He has to just play this player window. Gobby with a great little underhanded flash. Fraud watching window vigilantly. Decides to rotate back towards tunnels. Flash gonna rain in, and there you go. They come in through door, and it's all on Fraud here. All eyes on him with the op. He's gonna strafe jump around the corner, and it's gonna force Gobby into a position where he either has to go for this. Oh, and Fraud just jumps right through the molly. Almost hits the shot. Gobby is gonna stick it. No, he's not. He backs off the bomb. And that shot from Fraud puts Gobby so dangerously low. But Fraud also unable to finish off the kill. Now burst fire coming out on the clock. Goodness, it doesn't matter. compLexity still pick up the round. So while Fraud hits a great shot on the first player, unable to finish off the last few points of health there on Gobby, doesn't really matter. compLexity take the round.
It was a round that played out a little bit differently than I was imagining it, but thankfully Fraud has the timer on his side, so he gets the benefit of that, and we'll be able to clutch out the round for compLexity. And this, of course, will force NRG onto another uneven buy. Just upgraded pistols, a couple players having armor sitting behind it. Justin and Legia are going to upgrade to Deagles, and Silent will pick up a P250, but beyond that, still not very heavy, and we really haven't seen these ecos come into full effect so far in this map, so I don't imagine there would be anything super surprising here, but it's going to be a quick push to get these players over here onto the ramp area. Legia, that jump being a little bit of a mistake, as he's brought down to 30 HP, so Peter finds one pickup, but Ruka, along with Def, finding 2 more kills to trade it out.
Fraud hoping to spot these players pushing through the smoke. Silent tries to make his way out. The flash didn't really seem to have too much of an effect, but Justin and Peter, oh, great shot from Fraud just catching Justin off guard there in CT spawn. Not really anticipating the peak too much. And it's just Peter trying to save the AK all the way back in T-spawn, hoping to hold on to it for the final round of regulation in the first half. As NRG, they started out a little bit better than they finished off. compLexity kind of bringing back some of the energy that they had built up in the second half of the last map. So NRG, who's actually been really good on the CT side, is stumbling right now. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen on the T side, because they really didn't feel too good on the opposite side of the map.
So compLexity off to a good start, or off to a good lead here, I should say, as we come to the closing portions of the first half. And NRG, they will be able to buy up one more time, and it's going to be a double op buy, putting it into the hands of Silent and Peter. Silent, though, comparatively to the performance we saw on his CT half back on Cash, has been much, much more quiet. In fact, he's tied in fragging power right now with both Legia and Peter. It's Gob B, which is very rare to see, that's leading the charge right now on this team's fragging power. But Silent, He's gonna get himself off to a hot start, catches the push coming down outside of the tunnels, and gonna get himself inside this smoke. The players from Cole are trying to jump up on top of the box, but I think the smoke's sitting in the way of it. They can't jump up properly, so they have to give it up a bit. And that's gonna lead to an awkward positioning, as now Roka's caught in the open. He'll be taken down. They didn't see Shinobi in this smoke, and there's been a second one that's been thrown out. Finally, someone connects that jump. There'll be a bit of a trade on damage, but Shinobi finds the kill onto Justin. Silent still in here, but compLexity are falling back temporarily, it would seem, to try and regroup in middle, and they'll re-execute after they get control there. Peter's here to stop this, though, and he's going to see the push coming. Great shot at a fraud, and it looks like NRG should be able to hold out quite well here, unless there's an amazing comeback at the hands of Shinobi and Def in this round.
We've seen individual players from compLexity pull them out of rounds multiple times, but it does look like it's likely to be a 9-6 half right now as Leggy and CT spawn. Well, see you later, Leggy. A great shot from Shinobi as he jump peeks over the Xbox and CT spawn. And now compLexity, they've given themselves some wiggle room, but it is going to be Gabi coming in on the flank. And you said it, the player who is top frag is going to come in huge here in the final round as he puts a molly right on top of the bomb, and Def just runs right through it, but gets shredded to pieces by that fire. Down to just 41 points of health. It's a 1v2 with 30 seconds left on the clock. He has the bomb, but the CTs are waiting, and PTR, a good shot on the Def as he comes around from catwalk. So a 9-6 at half. A much better T-side for compLexity than we had seen on the previous map.
And now the big question, as we've actually postulated this multiple times now, is NRG going to have a better T-side than what we've seen in the past 3 maps they played tonight? Because the past 3 maps, these T-sides have just been pitiful. They've been abysmal. However, keep in mind that in the past, there has been good T-sides at the hands of NRG previously. This is the map they actually beat Liquid on just over a week ago, if I'm remembering, right before the qualifiers, actually. They managed to beat Liquid here, and this is Liquid with Kusta on the roster. So take that for what you will. I think that necessarily doesn't mean that Liquid would have been better or worse 100% in that matchup, but still, that was the map that NRG did manage to take off of Liquid, and now we'll have to see if they can carry over a good T-side performance finally here. But previously we haven't really seen all that much tonight, so there's no reason to believe, especially considering the last map was Cash too, and this map shared a lot of similarities with it. There's no reason to believe that we would all of a sudden see a rapid turnaround, but I've been wrong before, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, in fact, they've only lost in recent match history because they're a very young team, so recent match history is basically their only match history with this active roster. They've only lost Dust 2 once. That was in the DreamHack qualifiers against Cloud9, and it was a 16-14. Outside of that, they've been pretty good. You know, they have a 16-6 over WinterFox, 16-11 over CLG, and then 16-13 over Selfless. And then they also had one other, trying to find it here, I think they had one other Dust 2 match that they had picked up. But I mean, it's a pretty good record for the map. I'm trying to just pull up the rounds to see how they played on their T side, because that's really the big question mark. And they were able to put up 11 rounds on their T side against Liquid. So they might actually have a little bit more of a dynamic play. But who knows? I mean, we really have only seen so little of this team.
So they're taking their time actually to ready up in the second half, for good reason, obviously, as I believe Gabi wants to sort of batten down the hatches when it comes to the strategy and the overall fragging power that he's going to have at his disposal to throw at these sites. If it's used incorrectly and they start off in a bad way, if that gives compLexity a 6-round lead through the pistol round victory, and if we don't see another second round upset at the hands of NRG, then, well, then that's going to be a very long climb back to tying this back up. 9-6 is always the scoreline where things can basically go one direction or the other, and having things tied up almost immediately, or having the team that was leading at the beginning of the half just completely run away with it, assuming the first 3 rounds go as planned after they pick up a pistol. So we're just waiting for that ready up to come in, and then we'll get started. But not looking so good for NRG when you consider that the IGL is now leading for the team. It's never really a good thing. And keep in mind, too, that there was a period in Cloud9, I think it was at the beginning of Season 2 of Pro League, back around like September, October, where Cloud9 was really struggling, and Sean Garris was always the player that was on top of the scoreboard. It's basically the same sort of symptoms there, where it's not necessarily a good thing that your IGL is going crazy. Yes, it's great that he's performing well, but that also probably means that the rest of your team is probably not doing so well, and obviously leads to some pretty bad things happening, especially on T side if you can't find entries.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a kind of stereotypical thing about CS is that your in-game leader is not going to be your top fragger. He's distracted with other things in the round that maybe could take away from his ability to just kind of like run around and frag out, because he has to be the tactician. He has to plan your round out, and as the round changes, he has to adapt. So he's always thinking about that, and a guy like Gabi, He has a very tactical mind. He's going to constantly be thinking about where the round is now. He's not just going to go with a one-dimensional, like, let's just go split B, and like that's the decision made within the first 15 seconds. He might change his mind 2 or 3 times before the execution occurs. So you're right, seeing him in the top frag position does not bode well for NRG.
We are getting started now, guys, with the second half. compLexity jumping over to the CT side, NRG on the T side. Taking things slow initially. NRG going to move their players into the tunnels, including the bomb. It's a 3-2 split. They'll have Silent along with GobB sitting outside of the long A doors, but nowhere near getting aggressive with it as of yet. They're holding back. And they don't look like they're going to push into it anytime soon. I think they're going to wait and see if anybody from compLexity tries to peek. If they can find them and take them down early, then that should amplify the potency of the B push, especially if it's successful and they get themselves onto the site.
Silent is playing the scout role right now, peeking out from long, trying to see exactly how compLexity is playing this. He does spot the player in pit, but I'm not sure he realizes Def is up close and personal. It's still at least 3 players towards the B site, as Shinobi in mid is spotting players trying to make their way up catwalk. This could maybe force the hand of compLexity to rotate this mid player out, and there you go. He is going to rotate all the way over towards the A site, but it looks like it's still poised to be a B take right now, which puts a lot of pressure on Roka. He's got to hit these duck shots from the back of B plat right now, as the T side goes for the fake towards the A site, still gluing Shinobi in position, but the bomb still sitting in B tons.
Shinobi getting just a little bit of damage off on a Silent. Nothing significant, though, and really only here to make some noise onto the A bomb site, but there's still an absolutely giant commitment to A from the CTs. Roka, good initially to hold that first kill on the B, but now they're going to come flooding outside of the tunnels and through middle. Found the first pickup on the Fraud. Roka still alive in the corner. He's going to find 2 more before going down to Silent. And he's done the work that's needed. Now it's up to Sanks, Def, and Shinobi to pull this off. Shinobi is going to get lit to hell as he tries to peek the main doors. Def lines up the flank, but he can't finish off Silent as he brings him down to only 73 HP. Shinobi's going to get killed. Justin almost pushing out of the doors. He would have found Sanks for free. Justin responds, but Def trades it again. And now it's all to Silent to hold it off. But Sanks finally surprising with the window push. Is going to be able to close things out. And compLexity will be winning the pistol round here. So they keep their lead going strong to start off the second half.
And they actually get the kit after the fact. They didn't have a kit. I don't know where Deft picked that up, but they didn't have a kit for a while, so they had to escalate the plan there. They had to move quickly to get into the site, because if the kit was down in sight, it doesn't do them any favors. compLexity are able to pick up the pistol round, and they're going to move right into multiple rifles, not really going with the SMGs early on. Def, the only one who wants to use the UMP. The rest of the team feeling like maybe NRG might do something that could catch them off guard. Not going to be the case, though. NRG looks like they're setting up for the third round buy. However, if we've seen anything from NRG, it's that the third round buy is not something that GobB is fond of. He likes to save up the money and get a real full buy. So the fact that compLexity has forced up into rifles already could actually cost them a lot of money if any of these players go down.
Now NRG lining up to get their players once again. It's looking like it's going to be a mid to B split if they can try to execute it here, but the might be a cap push actually. But the problem is, of course, if they do go through mid, then you could just tell from the minimap right now, there's a big stack of Cole players waiting just outside of it. So more than likely, it's looking like things are going to end up shifting themselves into a cat play, at least initially. GobB is going to lead the charge to investigate, but there's a smoke in the way. So just going to fire off some shots and try to lean in some rotations over there if they can get them in. But still, that heavy presence in mid, NRG might have a bit of a tough time getting past that, especially if they decide to push. But there's Silent with a good pickup on a Def. Takes him down. And now these guys should be free to go for a push.
They're playing this so slow that they've allowed themselves to weaken the utility from compLexity. You can see they're down to just double flash Molly, or Incendiary for that matter, and an HE on Shinobi. Shinobi playing very close to mid. He's got Silent dancing. He knows he's there. He hears him running around, thunderfooting in mid. Finally, he's going to take an angle where he can take him out. But it looks like the bomb is sitting on Cat, and they seem to be favoring the A site right now with 2 players rotating around towards long. Looks like they're going to split it very soon. And the smoke comes down for CT. Fraud's just going to walk right through it. But there you go, Shinobi picking off one. Now it's Sanks in sight, looking to do some damage. Sanks gets spotted from the players coming up long. Great recoil control on the Legia. GobB the only one able to do anything coming up from long A, but the round does go the way of compLexity. Did cost them a little bit of money, but they pick it up nonetheless.
Too slow overall from NRG there. They try to go for this very slow-paced execution, and they try to throw, they try to throw these rotations and whatnot wherever they can, but it never really works out. And they know it too, because compLexity is firing shots at them from left and right, so they're giving away their position. They're giving the guys on NRG all the information they need, but nonetheless, NRG just never really decides to go for it. They hang back, hoping compLexity to do something stupid, and it never happens. compLexity are fed these kills, and they're able to easily shut down that room. But now the big guns get into the hands of the players on NRG, but that might not mean all that much, of course. As immediately it's going to be a 2-for-2 trade, so now they might be able to bounce back. But they need to get this bomb into a good position, because right now everybody's spread all over the map, and the T's don't seem really formulated. Same problem as before.
Yeah, that slow play, I do like that. It's very promising for NRG in the long run, the fact that they have that kind of discipline in an eco round. But based on the situation, it just didn't play out the way they might have anticipated. And those slow plays require so much from your team. It needs to be very tight. You can't have any sloppiness around the edges. And that's what's been happening with NRG. A lot of the rounds haven't really been as coordinated as they really need to be. And, you know, it's just a young roster. They're still working out the kinks. It looks like they're going to stack up towards long, potentially Legia making his way towards T-spawn all the way around from B. And he's heading over towards the double doors at long, where he's got two teammates waiting for him. 50 seconds left on the clock. Another slow play here from NRG towards the mid round, taking their time, looking to see what compLexity is going to do with this. Maybe trying to catch one of these players, getting a little too aggressive and get that opener that they desperately need, given the situation right now. Fraud still back towards mid. It's really only Def on the A site, and with the nades and smokes likely to rain out in a second, he's going to be very limited in his ability to hold this.
Roka's going to check the tunnel one more time before evacuating the B-bomb site, but he's moving in, and Fraud working his way up through Cat now as well to try to get in the way of the plant. The molly will roll on site. It's almost perfectly timed, too. Just as NRG were working their way up the ramp. Now they've got to hold back for a few more moments, but Def, he cannot peek out from the smoke at 15 HP. That would be a super ballsy move. Legia going to be able to find Fraud on Cat. It takes him down, and it has killed a lot of the momentum behind this retake here. There goes Def. Roka didn't even get a chance to rotate over towards the site. He's stuck in CT right now. Pulling off this 1v3 would be crazy. He'll be fed a chance to kill Legia, but he whiffs it as he was looking up on top, hoping somebody would be peeking over from there. Doesn't find it, but still going to be going for this, it appears. As he moves up, taking it slow, waiting to see if he can find his opportunity, checking all the angles possible. Peter's waiting for him, though, in pit. Peter, oh, good shot from Roka to take down Justin. But ultimately, he's going to peek out there, and Peter will finish him off with a scout.
And there you go. A slow play actually works for NRG there. You know, that slow and careful play causes the CT side to kind of stick in their tracks because they just don't know where you are. They have no information. You haven't made any noise in so long. You could be anywhere. So you can't, like, afford to float any player extra to any site. So you can't have two players A or two players B in that situation. It's a 3v3. They have to play a 1-1-1. And Roka is just so far away from the A bomb site by the time the bomb makes its way across. There's nothing he can do about it. And even still, when the smokes rained out, Roka was hesitant to rotate because he was worried that there could still be that lurk player in B. It could be a fake. It wasn't until the second smoke lands that's like, okay, it's 100% in A. There's no way they're going to send one player on his own in a 3v3. So NRG pick up a nice round there, and it's going to force compLexity into an eco. So a great opportunity for NRG to try and thin the lead here and also put some money on their side.
Silent being fed up for his kill there, but a nice headshot nonetheless on the Sanks. Needs to check it around the corner for Def, and, well, Def is basically just going to hand that kill over to Silent. He's looking for a third, and he's going to find it on the Shinobi. So Silent having an easy time picking up these kills initially. Roka with a good pop flash, though, and he's going to pop out himself to find a kill on a Silent, but Justin's there for the quick trade. Roka leaves himself overexposed for too long, and Fraud's going to lose his duel in mid with the Gia. So NRG do walk through the eco round for compLexity, but nonetheless was an eco round. The question now for compLexity is, do they invest this time, or are they going to be in double save territory? So with Fraud and Def sitting at 3.3 and 3.6k, they might not be feeling all that confident in buying. Yep, they are going to go for one more light round here, just upgrading their pistols.
You know, if they had actually done more damage there in that round with those pistols, they maybe would have considered it, because the CT side is on the fringe of force buy territory, but it's really the T side who's been building up some money. If they take more of those guns away, they're in a manageable situation where you can call for that. They're up 11-8 though, so there's nothing necessarily at risk here. They can go for another eco, build up a lot of money, come into the next round with a full buy. Sanks is going to be playing the barrels down long A all the way back towards Goose. He's got the deagle, and this spot is so annoying as a T-side player because those barrels are completely impenetrable. So if he plays it right, he might be able to get a kill or two, but it's once they get into pit, it's going to be quite difficult for him. Shinobi rotating up from CT spawn, and Def, who is pushed up on catwalk, is going to fall back. So they are actually stacking 3 players towards the A site, with the other 2 pushing into B. It's just a matter of time before they make the call that it's going to be A, because they have all this information in B tunnels that there's no one home.
And NRG now looking to push themselves up over here on the Cat. Shinobi mainly going to be in position to try and stop this. Def, the same thing just around the corner, but they're waiting for the T's to strike first, and compB is just going to wreck some face with the UMP. 3 kills on a Sank, Shinobi, and Def. And just like that, the CTs are down to 2 players left alive. Fraud jumping up, surprises Legia, and then he gets a second kill on a GOT-B as well. So some good pickups from Fraud. It brings it down to a 3v2 now, but still, the odds are stacked against them. Fraud's going to get lit by Silent and finished off as well. And Roka, the only one left alive now. He's got a UMP, but 22 HP. And no armor. It's going to make this very hard to pull off, but he does find Peter, who tries to walk up slowly. That's a big mistake. And Peter doesn't even know what hit him. So now it's down to a 1v2.
Justin sitting behind the box. He's playing this perfectly. He's just playing the clock. There's no way that Roka is going to get into a pretty good position with the way that Justin is playing that. And he knows that Roka's armorless with a deagle, so it's pretty easy for him to just slaughter him. Aim punch takes over. It really puts the onus on Roka to hit that one deag. Doesn't happen. NRG picks up another round. They've gotten it down to just 2 rounds of a lead right now for compLexity, moving into yet another bye. And this is a potential round where compLexity loses their back into an eco. So NRG wanting to start out strong, and there you go, the op pick in mid from Peter, and it's Roka of all people. He's not top fragging, but he's at the top of the scoreboard right now at 16-6 or 16 and 16. And you know, you can never underestimate the amount of play that's going to come in from Roka, the impact he can have on a round. Another pick from Peter. He is shredding apart the side of compLexity. They're already down to 3 players, and the T side hasn't even begun the execution. It's going to make it very difficult for Sanks, Fraud, and Shinobi to hold on to this.
I don't know why, but for whatever reason here, we've been seeing compLexity try to play like much more aggressively, even on these gun rounds, and they've led to oftentimes just kills being fed for free to the players on NRG. Like these first 2 picks from Peter, the first one, of course, very impressive of a pick to take down Roka, but that one on Def just slow peeked himself around the corner on Cat, and basically gave his own life away there because of the over-aggression. But Sanks is going to try to trade some of this back now. He's found another kill on Justin, so it's back down to a 3 versus 3. And all of a sudden, with this frag, NRG aren't feeling too confident in their push over towards the A-bomb site anymore, so GobB is going to find a pick up on a Fraud, and now they're shifting it to a B play, where they absolutely have the advantage, because both of the remaining compLexity players are sitting on A site defense. Shinobi, though, bustles through that smoke, shuts down Silent, and brings it back into a palatable situation for the guys on compLexity. And actually, Shinobi's just going to go right back into the site, but that's a mistake, as his teammate is super far away from him right now, and he's just giving him a 1v2.
Shinobi wanted to catch that one player and hopefully force a 1v1. It's a big risk. I can understand the play, but at the same point in time, given the score and where you guys are sitting in the game, you can't afford to throw a player away like that. So it does put Sanks in a 1v2 right now. Post plant pretty strong here for the side of NRG, but it isn't going to be PTR coming out on top of that one. Peter drops the Sanks. Sanks still making his way in from tunnels. GobB behind default box. Actually, he's back behind double stack now. He's got the op, and he's just waiting for Sanks to try and make his way out, and plays it beautifully. Just patient, forcing the hand. Sanks has to come into the site for the retake, and NRG has now gotten themselves onto double-digit rounds, and while it's not as impressive a comeback as compLexity pulled on Cash, it's a comeback none the least, and we had questioned whether or not NRG was going to have a T side, and they are definitely showing up.
compLexity not going to be able to invest this time around. It's another light round from the CTs, unfortunately. And more than likely, we will see it continue to be in the favor of NRG, as they've just been plowing through these rounds at quite heavy losses to them, and quite a few of them. I think 3 out of 4 of these rounds that they've picked up, they've survived with 2 players or less. But Peter's going to find another opener, and again, same sequence as before. It's on to Roka to start it off. So a fragger, which we didn't really see too much of on Cash, besides his 2 amazing clutches. Seeing a lot more of him now, and him being taken out is definitely a much bigger factor on this map now that he's sort of gotten himself warmed up. NRG going for a big push now over here towards long. compLexity are ready for it, but they don't have the gunpowder to hold it back, or the utility power for that matter. So Justin going to be able to pick up a first kill. Oh, almost a team kill comes out in the Silent. Justin brings his own teammate down to 5 HP, but makes up for it by finding a nice kill on his Sanks and Shinobi. Fraud's the last one alive. He's already revealed himself here in middle, so no chance at all of a clutch. He's just hunting down kills at this point.
He's got another one working in from long. I think that's Peter. There you go. Peter coming around the bend, able to take down Fraud. NRG's able to tie it up at 11 apiece. And, you know, we've mentioned it. Roka typically would be the top fragger here for compLexity. He's known for leading that charge. He really hasn't been able to really, like, catch fire. He's had a few rounds where, like, that's the Roka I know. That's the Roka I've seen so many times. I mean, that 1v2 on the A site on Cash, and then the pistol round as well. But outside of that, I mean, he's been basically systematically dismantled. NRG has found a solution for Roka, and right now it's been the ops, which have been working out wonderfully for them all night long. As you can see, Roka did get legged in mid, but it's 2 picks towards long for the CT side that start things off nicely. It's going to be Sanks who gets both of them. He's going to retreat into pit as the T side tried to make their way out towards blue bin. Flashes and smokes force them into a passive position. Not able to get the refrag. Shinobi and Sanks, or actually it's, Shinobi and Sanks over towards long. They shred Silent to pieces, but the push from GobB onto Catwalk completely catches them off guard, and now Sanks is in a very difficult position in pit.
GobB, though, has been dinked, and Sanks is going to kill him, too. So finally, Sanks is taken down by Silent. All they had to do is push him there, but the 2v3, and they've been alerted to the play, so they're going to be able to rotate in. This is that cautiousness that NRG had to worry about previously, where, unfortunately, now they're stuck. It's obviously making much more sense here with them being so far behind. They're watching out for a flank from Roka, or anybody else that may try to contest them over here on long A doors, but Not going to be spotting any of it just yet. Roka with a pop flash is not connected at all, though, and he's just given away his position, so he's going to go hippity-hopping back over towards Cat to regroup with the rest of his team. As NRG themselves, with still 40 seconds on the clock, they've got plenty of time to reconsider their strat, fall back, and potentially change this to a B hit if they want to.
They are definitely stacking up towards the A site. Fraud finally goes down in towards CT spawn. Oh, he's going to switch to his knife at the worst possible time. Silent with the Sixth Sense peeks wide.
He didn't even realize he hit him, but Def's also been brought down to 2 HP.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I didn't even know that either. I didn't see the shot. I was busy watching Fraud get taken down in CT spawn. It seemed like he was in good position to stop that, especially with Silent being so low. Now this retake is very difficult. I mean, Roka and Def both low on HP, no kit. They are a little bit lit on the T side with Silent down so low, but Peter in B tunnels with the AWP. He's going to be the big man here. He gets the first one, Silent able to get the second. And NRG have taken the lead back.
And they take it off of a very, very close round there. That was an amazing play from Sanks. Like, regardless of the way that round turned out, Sanks with that hold over there inside of the pit was really good. Just unfortunately, his team was not as well on point that time, so they weren't able to hold it off, and compLexity cannot afford to allow NRG to run away with the lead, so they are going to forcefully invest this time. Not the worst buy-up in the world, but still missing a lot of utility when you look at players like Roka, Def, and Fraud, who even Shinobi as well here. They're using a lot of the utility very early on here. So the only person that really has a full buy coming into this one is going to be Sanks. The rest of these guys have already exhausted a lot of it, and they're just tunneling out towards long now. Quick control, but they don't check car fully, so Def gets 2 kills. Takes down Silent and Justin, even finding a third on a Gob B. Now he's got an AK in front of him. He can upgrade it. Noodle arms there as he tries to pick it up, but still manages to grab it, and he lines up another shot into Peter, brings him down to 33 HP. Roka finds the kill onto Legia. Peter finally trading out Def, but it doesn't even matter at this point. Peter with 7 HP with a 1v3. This is so hard to pull off. And more than likely, compLexity will be able to trade this round back into their control and tie things up at 12 rounds.
As long as they don't lose another body, too, they'll be sitting at least in a decent spot money-wise. I mean, if they drop one more, it becomes that much harder for them to try and drop rifles and get a buy-in. And the T side of NRG has a lot of money built up. 7K on Peter right now, 7K on Silent, 49.50 on Justin. They're going to be in a pretty good spot. Flashes and smokes trying to keep the T side at bay here as Peter is trying to make his way up long. He's so low on HP. One bullet separates him from life and death. Peter peeking through the smoke, pops a shot into CT spawn. There's no one home. It's going to be Roka in elevator up on catwalk. We've got Sanks, and then on the long lurk, the flank coming in from Fraud. But a great shot by Peter, able to take down Roka. And we'll see if it's going to be compLexity allowing Peter to get the plant here. Fraud is coming around from long, but they know he's got the AWP, and they don't want to necessarily give up any of these guns. And there you go. Fraud plays it perfectly. compLexity is going to pick up the round. But they did lose a lot of money. They can save that AWP, so at least it's something. But a tough round for compLexity, despite the fact that they do pick up the W.
They are going to tie it, though, and with that, they will reset NRG here. But it's after a very, very long string of wins. In fact, I believe it's 6 rounds in a row. So they're going to have quite a bit of money left over on the NRG side of this to continue buying up now. And we'll see this sequence into another full buy for these guys. compLexity, actually not in the worst position possible. They're going to get actually a better buy than what we saw in the previous round for them. If you remember, of course, that they were looking pretty loose before. Now they're going to be able to invest quite nicely with full utility for everybody and full M4s this time around. An AK on Roka, which he's retrieved off of the corpses of one of the members of NRG. But it's NRG's turn to respond, as compLexity have been able to fight back a little bit here, despite NRG now tying the game up at 12 rounds.
That last round from Def, too, is like the promising aspect of him as a player. Like, compLexity clearly saw something in Def when they brought him into the roster, and it's rounds like those that are like, that's what we saw in Def. That's the player we know is there. We're just waiting for him to emerge on a more consistent basis. And they bring in a player like Fraud and a coach like Warden, 2 long-time players in CSGO, and they can help condition these younger players and turn them into a full, rounded CT side and T side player. Def popping shots left and right, looking for a third. He's got the AWP on CT slope on the A site. But unfortunately, he's only going to get 2 kills here as NRG tries to go for that play. There's still one coming around from long. That's going to be Justin. Sanks takes care of him quite easily. But it is going to be a bomb plant here for NRG as they stick it there. Silent and Peter on the site. Peter taking a lot of damage, somehow survives. Gets one more before he goes down. Now it's just a 1v1. So much money lost by compLexity. I think that was a 4v2 that boils down to a 1v1. So despite the
Roka.
fact that it's complexity picking it up, that's a huge round for energy.
Roko also almost blew that completely too. He wasn't necessarily direct there with finishing off the final player, and Energy were pressured so hard. The fact that they got that many kills is impressive in itself. Complexity is so slow to just go out in the open and look for those frags that they often gave away quite a few of them there. So a good attempt at a hold under quite a bit of pressure from Energy, but at the end of the day, Silent was not able to finish that duel off versus Roka. Close out the round once again for Complexity. They reclaimed the lead, and we still have one more buy coming out from Energy before they themselves are forced to save up here. But all this time, they have been building up a semi-decent losing bonus, and they've been planting on both of these rounds, which they won. So if they can continue to do that, they'll get the guns back into their hands very quickly as they line up for mid control. Finally, Energy shying away from their more direct type of strats, and it looks like they're going to slow things down and maybe look for a pick or two early on in the round this time.
Yeah, they've been playing a lot faster the last few rounds than they had early on, and I think that's what's kind of given them the ability to just kind of push onto the A sites, push onto the B site, just going in fast, knowing that the CT side is low on utility when they're going into buy rounds because they've lost so many in a row. They're just relying on a lot of the loss bonus to get them into the positions where they have a solid buy. Peter peeking up from mid. And Shinobi and Peter are playing an interesting game right now where neither player can really spot each other. Shinobi's in a good position if they do decide to go for this. Gabi is going to spam through that box knowing that he could be there. Roka in the back of sight somehow drops out a window in time, but one has already made his way out of B tunnels. That's Legia with the deagle, and he's going to get one. Now Roka's in a really tough spot. Molly. Hey,
Justin just jumped down into the face of Def and absolutely wrecked him. So now the Opera goes down once more. And Sanks is the last one alive. He's got a little bit of tunnels control. Might be able to surprise Legia here, but ultimately it's a 1v4. So hard to pull this off. Moves in, does find the first frag, but now he's been revealed. So everybody on Energy can just round themselves over to the B-bomb site, get prepped for a repush, and no one's even on the site, I should mention here too. Justin's placed himself inside the doorway, and Peter's sitting up on top. And with the very limited amount of utility that Sanks does have, it's not really going to be plausible. The money, again, for Complexity is still in a very iffy spot because of how close these past couple of rounds have been. So the better option for him is going to be to fall back and save.
Even if he won this round, it would be really hard for them to buy. I mean, look at Def, Fraud, and Shinobi. Shinobi's got $150. There's not really a situation where Complexity comes out of this one feeling all that much better about the way the game is playing out. It's going to be tied up at 13-13, and it should be an eco from Complexity, potentially back-to-back eco. I mean, you can see Def at 1950. Roka's really the only one with any money, and he's got 2,700. So it could be Energy who are able to secure the 14th and potentially even the 15th round. Now, naturally, Complexity is going to force buy because they're not going to want to surrender that. But even if they win that round, I mean, Energy will have built up a lot of money yet again. So the economic situation definitely playing a factor here for Complexity as they've just been unable to get that worked out.
There's those aggressive peaks again from Complexity that they've been doing on their eco rounds. They move out, they try to get a fast cap pressure to hopefully surprise and pick up a kill or two, but it doesn't pay off, and they're going to lose Roka again. One of their biggest players here when it comes to the clutch situations. They lose him super early on in the round, and now it falls to everybody else to do that work. Sanks also positioning himself over here towards the long doors too, and if this cat push ends up going through, he's going to need to reposition himself very quickly, otherwise they could lose that rifle, and basically the only amount of pressure they're going to have against these guys on the T side. Silent finding another kill onto Def. Now they've gotten themselves up here, but they're still weighing it back a little bit. Going to see if there's any peaks coming out from CT, and they do find another one in the form of Shinobi. Fraud does try to surprise on a Justin, and he almost succeeds, brings it down to 9 HP. But for Sanks, is now the last man alive. He's got that rifle, but the problem is he just told them where he is by going for these pop shots. Come on, he's trying to get something, but Peter says no. And will dispatch of him. Almost a team ace there. That's time from Energy to Legia, the only one not able to get a shot. But more disappointingly is Sanks, despite being given all that time to try and find a headshot, I don't think he connects a single one of them. And everybody on Energy, for the most part, makes it out of that round alive.
Sanks, he saves that rifle and he doesn't really do anything with it, unfortunately. It's just kind of the way the round did play out. So now Complexity goes into that fourth spot, and there you go. Poor Roka, yet again.
No
Peter in mid.
At all for
This
Roka
has happened
tonight.
How many times has that happened? That he's been picked or legged in mid? I mean, I feel like it's happened at least 4 or 5 rounds now.
That's got to be
constantly putting them in a bad situation.
At least the 4th time. There is a good pop flash from the CT though, so they might have a chance to round this back. Shinobi's going to push in. It's traded 1 for 1 there, as Legia finds another pickup onto Shinobi. But down to 2 CTs now. Complexity moving in, trying to get control of the situation, but Complexity, unfortunately, have been outmatched once again. And the final 2 players that are alive are completely out of the mix right now. And more than likely, at least in Def's case, he's just going to fall back and save.
I mean, Sanks will hold for exits, but I mean, he's only got a 5-7 armor. They'll get $2,400 from this after losing the round, so he'll be able to get the same thing he has right now. So it makes sense for him to stick around in this position, potentially find himself an AK. He does have Silent dead to rights, but it doesn't matter. Silent comes out on top of the duel, and now Def goes down. It looked so promising for so long for compLexity, but NRG brings it back on their T side of all sides. We talked about this at the half. NRG's T side throughout the most of the night. We've watched them play multiple maps now. It's been lackluster. So all it took was a little bit of old-fashioned D2 for NRG to shine, and compLexity has struggled on the CT side at finding any stability, and now it comes down to pistol armor and a scout for the side of compLexity to fight for overtime.
Essentially, with the rounds being traded so much here over the past 5 now, with NRG now taking full control of it and picking up 3 in a row, that might have been the last nail in the coffin here, as compLexity have run themselves dry once more. So not going to be able to bring too much to the table this time. NRG absolutely have control of the situation, but they may not be secure just as of yet. If they screw up and misappropriate their players and compLexity are able to sneak through with a couple of kills early on, then we still could keep this going, and it could go to the very last round. I think you actually said, I'm going to give you a bit of a highlight here, I think you actually said that this would go to the 28th round. Yeah,
I said it would go at least 28 rounds. I knew these teams would be close on this.
You might be one off on us.
I don't know. I feel like compLexity can still bring this back. It's only one round with a pistol eco, like a pistol armor buy. So they have the 5.7s, the Deagle, and the Scout. You know, a few kills, and they could find themselves a really good window, get a couple of AKs, and then they move into the last round with actually a decent amount of utility and firepower. But with Peter striking first with the off, it's going to make it that much harder. Sanks gets a trade out. Justin responds. Sanks gets one more. Drops into Catwalk. He knows the bomb is around the corner. He's going to go for the aggressive peek, actually getting the AK, and now falling back towards the A site with a molly to follow up. Sanks is going to stick around on Catwalk. It's a 3v3 right now with 30 seconds left. Sanks goes for the aggro peek and does not work out for him.
Fraud's a surprise, though, when he shuts down Silent, so it's back down to a 2v2, but now Roka, not working with a rifle or anything, only has the Deagle. Trying to let the shot in Agabi. I think he saw him, but did not want to take a risk on giving away where he's at. So he's going to sneak around, lines up on a Peter, but misses the shot. So Peter shuts him down. Everything's on Fraud, but Fraud lines up on a Peter, and now it's down to a 1 versus 1, him versus Gabi, but Gabi finds the final kill. And that is going to close it out 16-13 in the favor of NRG. And they will take both of the maps in their set versus compLexity here this evening.
That was so close. I mean, Fraud just, you know, an inch away from winning that for compLexity and forcing round 30. But it does go 29 rounds. Now it's 2 maps in a row, right? I mean, first map was 16-13. That one also 16-13. So both teams are a work in progress. So that's why there's a little bit of clunkiness. I think that compLexity and NRG both showed some promise tonight, but NRG on the final map just was really lights out on their T side, which definitely left us pleasantly surprised.
Well, that is going to close things out tonight, guys, for Pro League. We will be back on Saturday with a 6-hour-long stream. We have 3 matchups, including 2 maps on each of them. We're going to be having NRG versus Team AGG, compLexity versus Cloud9, and Optic Gaming versus Renegades. Starting, I believe, at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So be sure to join us for that, and we'll have the same length of a stream on Sunday, featuring 3 more matchups. That'll be Optic versus compLexity, AGG versus Renegades, and C9 versus Selfless. Be sure to join us this weekend for those, and I believe the Europeans will also be doing the same streams, although I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, that's about it for tonight, guys. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on Saturday for more of the ESL Pro League for North America. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you later.